Hello and welcome to the You Are the Program podcast. It is Michigan week. It is Brian Lewerke. It is Tyler Higbee. It is Don Terrazzano. And we are presented by Nudge Printing. Fellas, the week has arrived. We will see each other Friday in East Lansing. For a year that's been as down as it's been, and this last couple weeks been as brutal as it's been, I am beyond ready to get into East Lansing. I'm fired up to get there. I'm fired up to talk about this game. Something struck me on the way home, listening to some other podcasts that just kind of got me going a little bit, and that's not what you need during Michigan week. You typically don't need that extra little bit of juice, but here we are. We got a little bit of juice. How are we doing today, fellas?
Yeah, we're excited for two reasons. One, obviously we're playing Michigan. This is the best game of the year. Everyone gets up for it. It's fun, great rivalry. And two, we're obviously going to be there. We're going to see all the Spartan fans. We're going to see each other, and it's always fun being back in East Lansing. So I am absolutely fired up for it.
Less than 48 hours will be boots on the ground in East Lansing, and I could not be more excited about it. See you boys, see the fans, be back back to see Spartan Nation. I think it's going to be perfect football weather this weekend. A little crisp in the air, have some warm cider, warm me up a little bit, and top it off with some good football Saturday night.
That's what we can hope for. We'll talk about this game a little bit more, but kind of wanted to go into details first about we've told you guys we did this last year. We're doing another tailgate again this year. We are doing it behind Jennison lot where the team traditionally walks right there down the path. And we'll send out a picture of where we're at, kind of our location. And we really hope that you guys stop by, say hello. We will be there pretty much all day, getting it going, cooking, grilling, having a good time. Brian, I know you said, I think some of our former teammates will be there. I don't know who is all going to be there. Us collectively need to send out some texts and see who's going to be there. But this is really the time that we enjoy, obviously, to go back. But also now that we've, started this podcast and continued it for the last couple of years, I think this is a really good way of, even in bad times, supporting, what we love about a Michigan State football program and in a game that we all love, the Michigan game. So we will be there. We will be tailgating. And we will also, thanks to our friends, our presenting sponsor, Nudge Printing, we will be doing a giveaway. A little short notice here, but a giveaway nonetheless. We wanted to partner with Nudge Printing for a variety of reasons, but we've continually said during our ad reads, they're Spartans and they get it. Well, this is another thing that they get because, we had asked Gabe if we would be able to do this, and we are. So here is the very, very critical details of the giveaway. Short turnaround, but we will, not only are you listening to this now, if you're listening to this podcast, we will also be sending out a tweet and we will blow it up. So make sure if you hear it, or if you want to make sure your friends, family, whoever else might get into it. Very important here. Michigan State is playing an exhibition basketball game, first of the season, tomorrow night at home against Bowling Green.
Tomorrow night, October 23rd.
Correct.
October 23rd. Yes. Good. That was huge out of you, Higbee. Tomorrow night can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. October 23rd, they are playing Bowling Green at home. What we have is 4 different Nudge Printing shirts to give away. Now, all we need you to do when you're listening to this, or if you interact with this tweet, well, I'll clip this up as well. So that way we can send the clip out on Twitter too. All we need you to do is send us an email at youaretheprogram@gmail.com with your score prediction for Michigan State versus Bowling Green. The 4 closest predictions of the score will get a shirt. We will email you. And if you are going to the Michigan game, feel free to stop by and we will send that, or we will personally hand deliver that to you. On top of that, if you are not going to the Michigan game, please let us know and we can also mail it out to you. So this is a way that we want to work with Nudge. Again, fantastic people over at Nudge, and Gabe has been awesome to us. And the gear, as we've continued to say, is great. It's one of the best Michigan State brands and merchandise out there. So those four closest people, again, it is Michigan State, Bowling Green, score prediction. The 4 closest scores that you get will win a shirt. All you have to do is email us the score prediction at youaretheprogram@gmail.com and you will get the shirt. Additionally, on top of that, that's not all. We have some other little bite-sized giveaways here. Koozies and decals that if you come and see us on Saturday, we will very willingly give those out to you if you come and see us. So it'll be first come, first serve. We don't have enough for, hundreds and hundreds stop by, but we would love to see and chat with you guys. So again, we will be tweeting out the location of where we're at. We hope to see everyone there. We hope to see everyone there on Saturday to support this team because this is a game that we need to win. So we will send out more details in Twitter, but please send us an email at youaretheprogram@gmail.com for that score prediction and your chance to enter to win a Nudge printing t-shirt. How does that sound, fellas?
It sounds great. It's going to be kind of a crapshoot with the score prediction because no one knows what basketball season is going to look like. So you could be 5 years old, enter this giveaway, drop a score prediction, or you could be 80 and not follow Michigan State basketball at all, and you'll have just as good a chance as anyone else. So
the basketball season always sneaks up like so quickly, especially exhibition games. I mean, that's a different animal with 2-3 weeks before the season here, but it feels mid-October. It comes up in a flash.
I was gonna say the first game's what? First week in November. We got an easy game and then right into the Champions Classic.
Yeah, because I know they do a exhibition game against UConn as well.
Yeah.
That is next week, I believe. So there's 2 exhibition games, and yeah, it should be, I believe, first week in November. All right.
Enough
basketball talk. Let's get into this game. I mean, as I told you guys, I'm fired up for this game. It was one that I don't want to say dreading, but this has been a week that has been very pivotal. It's felt like for many, many weeks because of the recent non-success that this football program's had, starting with the fourth quarter against Nebraska and going forward. But let's talk a little bit about in the past, some of our experiences, because we've been through some interesting experiences. Brian, how about you give us your favorite memory from the Michigan game?
Ooh, I mean, our only win as starters came in 2017. Unfortunately, I only went 1-2 against them starting. But 2017 was probably obviously the best year. A lot of fun. Probably my favorite memory from that game is, just like being in the locker room after the game and holding Paul and running around with him and celebrating with guys, and then the bus ride back. It's only an hour bus ride back to East Lansing, and you're kind of back in your college town and hanging out with everyone. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy this game every time it comes around. I had my first taste of this rivalry back in 2016, actually playing in the game, and threw a touchdown, and it felt awesome in Spartan Stadium in 2016. So a lot of good memories, but I don't know. Michigan week is always a great time.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, but the countdown on the TV back in the summer, we had it where it was always counting down to the Michigan game. Obviously, it resets when you get into season, and it's a week-by-week thing, but all offseason you work towards this game. As much as Michigan fans and Michigan players want to downplay it, it means as much to them, if not more, as it does to us. They don't let them fool you. It's a big game both ways, and it's always a lot of fun. Like Brian, my favorite memory is definitely probably the 2017 game, the absolute monsoon. I remember seeing some of the rain, pictures and videos of the rain. It was literally just like flooding down the steps in the stands. Like, it was just insane. But yeah, that bus ride home, I remember we were up until we saw the sunrise, and we're like, all right, maybe it's time to go to bed. I need to do a little bit of sleep tonight, but nothing beats that ride home. Riding home with Paul Bunyan, all your teammates, coaches. It's nothing beats it.
Do you guys remember? I don't want to say your best memory, but your first memory, and I feel like we touch on this every year, but as the years go by, it doesn't get any less meaningless because I think it's really important to spell out. And even now, I don't know how this game is handled in the building. It's felt like Jonathan Smith, Aiden Childs, Nick Marsh, when they talked this week, they've kind of realized how different that this game is than any other rivalry game. And it's really easy to say across the country. I guarantee you talk to Alabama or Auburn guys and they think that game's different, but it feels like it's universally known the amount of distaste there is on either side for each other. But like you guys both being out of state, I come from a different background where I was a Michigan State fan my whole life. My family all went to Michigan State. So that was kind of ingrained in me. But for you guys and other people in the locker room under the Coach D'Antonio era, what was kind of your first moment of, yeah, I understand that this is a rivalry. It's Michigan State. But what was your first moment of this feels really different versus another rivalry game that you guys, associate with?
I would say, I mean, like my first moment was when I was a recruit in 2014, and Michigan played at Michigan State, and I was obviously watching the games in the stands. I was still in high school, but the coolest moment, like in a football stadium that I've ever been around, is obviously we were up in that game, and I heard the "Go Green, Go White" chants from one side of the field to the side that I was standing on. It was like the coolest experience I've ever had, and I was like, man, I cannot wait to go to the school once I finally enroll. So that was great. I mean, that was probably like my first real taste of the rivalry. And then, 2015, when me and Tyler didn't travel to that game, but I mean, that being like the first game that you're ever a part of as a person on the team, like it doesn't get much better than that. And I still remember me and Higby were watching the game at this guy's house, and we hopped back in his truck after Jalen Watts Jackson got the touchdown, and we were just driving through like downtown East Lansing, screaming out of our car and just like yelling at like every person we saw, and they would like respond by yelling back. It was awesome.
It's crazy to think that was 10 years ago. I actually saw an article on ESPN today of that play. Had a quote from our boy Grayson in there, Grayson Miller, quotes from Coach D and Jalen Watts Jackson. But to think that play was 10 years ago, our freshman year, is just kind of nuts. My first taste, I would say, probably didn't really happen until Michigan week. I mean, obviously, I mentioned the TVs around the building. They have the countdown to the game in the off season and all that. But my first taste, I remember practice and in the meetings, Coach Staten, the former line coach, like he was just on another level that week, and it was intensity that like I had not seen before from him, and just kind of from all the coaches. I felt like all the coaches turned it up a notch when it got into Michigan week. So to me, that was the first taste. Obviously, Coach Manny was always on our ass, but Michigan week was a little different. So I think that was the first real like, oh, this one's a little different.
That's what I was going to point to, is it's not just the game, but at least when we were there, it was what was ingrained in the culture. And that's, you've mentioned the clock that counts down to the Michigan game, but also, Coach Manny in any lift, you ended every lift with one more rep for those guys down the road. And, that week was just something. And like I said, coming from a background where I had been a Michigan State fan, being a part of those weeks to me was just different and special from the standpoint of the intensity of every single person, whether you're on scout team, you felt it a little bit more that week against the starters. Like there was a point to be proven in practice every single day because that week had an amplified intensity. And that's what I would really like to know now. Of it kind of goes to the Jonathan Smith discussion of this game. He said it this week. It's, obviously this is an elevated game for the team, and he knows that this rivalry is different. But when we were successful, it wasn't just this is a big week for us. It was an everyday type of thing. And when you got to the week, that's when it all culminated. You got to practice and things were amplified. You got, to the weight room and things were amplified in the film room, whatever it was. And so that's where I'm really interested to see how the team comes out this week. And I'll hit on this at a later point, but it's not just the week. It needs to be the entire culture and aura of the program leading up to that week, because that's when it all should culminate. And there should be no doubt when you're in that week what it's all about. So just wanted to kind of hit on those things before we even started getting into this game. Let me look through our notes here to make sure we don't have any other topics from our time. Now let's flip this to where we're at right now in the current state of the rivalry. Michigan has won 3 in a row. And in those 3 years, we have not gone to a bowl game. Since from 24 to 22, we have not gone to a bowl game. We have been down. And obviously, Michigan's gone on to do what they've done. They've won national championships. They've won a Big Ten championship. They've been a program that's pretty exemplary on the football field in terms of who they are. Last year, it felt like a really bitter taste to lose that game in the way that we did, strictly because that was such a winnable game. And it felt like we really controlled it, and it didn't even feel like it. We did control that game. We outgained them on the ground. We outgained them time of possession, I believe. And we just let it slip. And that was probably the most frustrating part last year. And that's where I'm really, really curious to see how the team comes out this year with that mindset in the back of their head.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan last year was a beatable team. They weren't bad, but they certainly had some holes. And it's kind of the same thing this year. I mean, whenever this game comes around, you always throw the record out the window. Speaking of that, I think the spread of 14.5 is a little too large, in my opinion, especially at Spartan Stadium. But I mean, both teams are. It doesn't really matter what your record is. You're gonna come in and play the game. Both teams are gonna battle. The rivalry means a lot. And how this Michigan State team responds, I think, is gonna be kind of telling for the rest of the season. I don't know if it's like there's no other game where you can get up more than this game. Like there's no other incentives or rah speech that you can give to get up for a game more than this Michigan game. And obviously, I think that just it being the in-state rivalry should be enough to be able to do that. But I do think it'll be telling for this team, and a win against Michigan could go a long way for the fans' hopes and even for the players for the rest of the season.
It'd be a huge confidence builder. Just, I mean, to prove your point, that Dante, you asked earlier, what was our first taste? I mean, I think part of it also was every year this week, like Brian just said, you throw the records out the window, and that's a major point of emphasis throughout the week. Like, it doesn't matter. Are they 8-0 coming in? Are we 0-8? Are we 8-0? They're 0-8. It doesn't matter. You're going to get – it's going to be a dogfight. And to that point, I just hope this game doesn't have one of those instances after the game that we've seen the past couple of years. I know you kind of mentioned it, Dante. It's unfortunate some of those games the past few years have had that happen at the end, and that's all people talk about. And now, depending on what side you're on, the other team's the bad guy. The team always does something dirty, but it's just that none of that needs to happen this week. Just keep it all on the field. Let the players duke it out.
If I had one thing that I wanted the most this game, I think I texted you guys this, that I just don't want any of that, because as funny or as whatever you might say, not even funny, but as like interesting the rivalry can get on and off the field that has elevated it in the past couple years, it just takes away from, I feel like, so much of what the game is, and every year it feels like it's a week or two that after the game, Tyler, to your point, depending on which side you're on, it's that person's fault, this person's fault, whatever it might be. It's just gotten old at this point, and there's always going to be the general chippiness in this rivalry. But I feel like I can't take another year of it where something happens and we have to deliberate it after the game about whose fault it is, defending our guys. It doesn't matter, right? Because every side's you're not going to convince anyone otherwise. But one of the things that I had kind of texted you guys, Brian, you hit on this, was this can be a chance to energize ourselves. And Jonathan Smith talked about it in his press conference at the beginning of the week, and it felt like it is true. And whether he's just saying that as, general lip service towards trying to play to the fan base about this week and get some positive momentum, this game really is coming at one of the best times because you've had the recent weeks where it hasn't gone your way. But at the same time, this is your one chance if you're Jonathan Smith. I would assume one chance. I mean, you're going to have many other chances after this, but if you win this game, you might not change all of the minds of the people that want you out and the general distrust I feel like that we might have on this podcast, but you can start working your way towards a way back. And this is such a big game because of how it was lost last year. But I really, truly expect this team to come out and throw their best punch early in this game and come out in a different way than we've seen them all year. That should not change how you treat a UCLA game, you treat a Nebraska game, however, any other game. This game is different. But this is your chance. And I feel like this team kind of senses that moment. And I wouldn't say stunned, but pretty surprised if we did not see at least a very good effort, at least early on in this game, to put some pressure on Michigan.
Yeah, again, it's not like a national championship competing Michigan team like it was in 2023 and years prior. So it's a gettable game. It's not by any means some team that they just walk out there and they're better than us. They may have some, obviously they're a good team, they have some good players, but it's definitely a game that we should be able to get up for and at least be able to compete in.
All right, I think we've beat that one to death. Let's get into the Michigan Wolverines and the team that is, because Brian, you've talked about it, it's not the national championship contending team. It's a team that we've talked about throughout this year, and I feel like I've watched a ton of Michigan this year in comparison to years past. And it feels like a team that has a very good floor in what they do. Defensively, they're going to get after you with the Wink Martindale defense. They're going to pressure you a bunch. But they've also shown a lot of different flaws, and specifically, the UCL or USC game sticks out to me. The Nebraska game sticks out to me. The Oklahoma game sticks out to me, and even the Wisconsin game. And they are not the same dominant team up front. And that's not to say they are not good up front on either side of the ball. But starting with their offense, this offensive line, while still solid, is not the offensive line of the national championship years to where they're just going to steamroll you and get 3, 4, 5 yards a clip and just have 7-8 minute drives that's just going to suffocate you. They have had very explosive runs in the run game. Justice Haynes, I think, is one of the best offensive players in the Big Ten. But Bryce Underwood's shown inconsistencies. He's thrown the ball decently. He's shown a lot of his talent, but he's still a true freshman. And I think there's gaps in his game to where this Michigan State defense can hopefully stand up against the task and keep this thing within striking distance if need be. Yeah,
and if you want to mention the Michigan offense, you kind of have to mention Bryce Underwood and just kind of the big name that he's been coming out of high school. He's played solid throughout the season, and I think our key is to make him uncomfortable and really get him a taste of what this rivalry is in his first time. And his first time in this rivalry playing in Spartan Stadium, I think, could be impactful. And obviously, you mentioned Justice Haynes, probably the best running back in the Big Ten. I don't know if I can think of another one, but like you said, Dante, he has multiple touchdown runs of over 40 or 50 yards. As a team, Michigan averages 213 yards on the ground. So that's definitely their bread and butter. And that's going to have to be our biggest key, I think, defensively, is stopping them, making Bryce win the game with his arm, which he has the ability to, but I don't think Michigan really lets him do his thing sometimes. They kind of, pound the run game, which works for them, so it works as a team. But I think the key is to make Bryce Underwood kind of beat you with his arm.
Yeah, we talked about making teams one-dimensional and how it's kind of worked against us in games this year for Michigan State. Teams have made Michigan State offensively one-dimensional. So I've mentioned it before. You guys both just hit on it, trying to make Michigan one-dimensional. it's going to be tough to do against Justice Haynes and Bryce Underwood, but you got to try to limit the explosive runs. You let Justice Haynes get some space, and he'll make a guy miss. He's fast enough. I don't know. I wouldn't consider him a burner by any means, but he's fast enough. I mean, you give him space, he'll make you miss, and he'll make you pay for it. I think Bryce Underwood has one of the maybe one of the best arms in the game right now. I mean, it just jumps out of his hand. Like you said, he can make all the throws, but I would like to see them. I'd like to see him do it, especially in a game like this. Like make him make the big throw, especially when it matters. You got to try to make him beat you with his arm, not his legs.
Yeah, I don't have anything against that. I think, we're not trying to be biased here on the discussion around Bryce Underwood. I think he is, to your point, he was rated number 1 quarterback for a reason. Now, even though he hasn't been sensational this year, I think it's a tall task to ask. Hey, that rhyming accidentally over here. It's going to be a tall task to have him carry an offense, especially in the way that they've been inconsistent in the run game while still having that explosive aspect. One of the things that sticks out to me, the biggest maybe about the Michigan offense, the lack of receivers, I feel like, and receiving threats that I don't want to say receiving threats that they have, but I think back to even we talked about how good their offense was in those national championship years up front, but they still had dudes on the outside, a Donovan Peoples-Jones, a Roman Wilson, guys that were just very, very solid as receivers. And it doesn't feel like he has that number 1 target. Even their tight ends, like in years past, they've had those tight ends. Colson Loveland sticks out specifically of guys that they could target in the pass game. And they haven't had anyone elevate themselves outside of what I think the Michigan fans in general have expected. So that's going to be really interesting to me. It feels like a team where you're talking Joe Rossi defensively. I think you have to trust your corners to be able to try and make plays in this game. And you have to trust them to be on islands at some point, just because, Bryce Underwood can beat you 2 different ways with his arm and on the ground. And so you're going to have to contain him, but you're also going to have to make him beat you. And so he is a quarterback that can beat you. He hasn't played great on the road yet this year, but that doesn't mean that he can't in this game. So defensively, to your point, I think it's very, very key to make them one-dimensional, but also make it hard on them. You don't want to let Bryce Underwood get into a rhythm early, and you kind of deal with the consequences of that when you have a lighter box in some of those situations. So Michigan State defense overall obviously has not been very good at all this year. The Indiana game didn't show any resistance, but they have to find something. They've shown game plans where they can. I think of the Nebraska game specifically. And even, second half Boston College, which you might as well throw that out the window with how they've looked recently. But they got to come up with a game plan. But I think the bigger part of this game is going to be reliant on the other side of the ball, which is Michigan State's offense against Michigan's defense.
Yeah, and when you look at Michigan's defense, there are 3 linebackers. There are 3 starting linebackers, Ernest Hausman, Jimmy Rolder, and Cole Sullivan. They're all their top 3 leading tacklers, which I thought was a little interesting. Obviously, you want your linebackers good tacklers and making plays, but that can kind of be a little behind-the-scenes look that the D-line is not able to, kind of create pressure, and the ball's kind of always getting to the second level when there's a run game and the linebackers are having to make tackles and the D-line is not really getting a push up front. So that could be something to look at. Secondary-wise, they've forced 11 interceptions on the year. Pretty good numbers, I would say. So, I mean, the offensive game plan for Michigan State, I don't know if it's much different than what it kind of has been in games past. We kind of mentioned maybe going to a more of like a spread out look. And Tyler, you were saying throw the ball to run the ball. I don't hate that as like as a game plan, and kind of letting Aiden Childs take over the game a little bit. Obviously, having a good run game is kind of the key to a good offense, but maybe forcing that passing game and then making the Michigan offense respect that and then counter it with a run game, I think could be a good strategy for this game.
Yeah, I don't know if it was last week or against, was it UCLA maybe, that I mentioned making making the defense run side to side. It might have been last week, but a lot of the quick hitters, and like you just said, working back to front, working backwards. So throwing the ball to be able to run the ball. Quick hitters, jet sweeps. I'd like to. I mean, obviously we've talked like it's not going to change drastically from week to week, but more motion stuff like that. Just let the defense tell you what they're going to run, so you can at least see what it is. Maybe check out of it. Some of these, I don't know. We saw some of the checks with Childs last week. We didn't see as many. We still saw some, but I think you talked about it, Brian, when he checks it and it's just a straight inside zone or outside zone.
I did see a check last week that it was a pass play, so that's a plus.
But that was a third or fourth down, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. But still, I've noticed when he's in gun and he checks it, it's a pass play. If he's under center at all and he checks a play, it's just checking from one run to another. It's not like run to pass. So
he might even just be Xeroxing it, going to a different side, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, like I said, more motions, jet sweeps, stuff like that. And it's not, like I said, it's not going to change. Lindgren's not going to reinvent the wheel just because it's Michigan week, but that's just what I'd like to see.
I'd like to make a note that I think Jayshon Barham, Michigan's edge, he started as one of their middle linebackers, I believe, this year. They've since transitioned up to edge. I think he's one of the best defensive players in the Big Ten. He is going to be the key for me to limit his effect on this game because he can be so disruptive in many different ways. It's not just rushing the passer, but it's also run game, creating TFLs. He's very twitchy. He does a really good job of holding the edge, but also he can drop back in coverage and play that aspect as well. But you talked about the offensive game plan. And to me, I'd like to piggyback on what you're talking about, Tyler, is we need to – I talked about throwing the kitchen sink. I think this is a game where you have to throw your motions, throw your trick – well, I don't know. I don't know how well a trick play would work at this point. But I really think you need to try and rely, even on when unconventional, your run game. I think you need to rely on Aiden Childs a little bit more in that run game to get him moving and get this defense to not predict so much of what we're doing, because we have been very tendency reliant on first and second down. Whether, we're in gun, we haven't shown, I feel like, a lot of different looks with Aiden Childs running the ball. I think that's what this offensive game plan has to be. It has to be an Aiden Childs-led attack that utilizes a lot of his different weapons. And I know we kind of always talk about it, specifically like the Nebraska game, where we say, that's just not who a Jonathan Smith or a Brian Lindgren are, in terms of that's not how they want their offense to operate. That's not in the DNA of who they are as play callers and offensive minds. But in this game, I truly do feel like you have to take some of your basic concepts in terms of making it not challenging up front for the offensive line, but then utilizing that in a different look with an Aiden Childs or with a motion or jet sweep. So I think you need to work to do the pass game before you establish your run. But when you do establish your run, I'd like to see a lot of different looks out of different sets that we can at least fall back on, because this Michigan defense, while not a top 5 unit in the country, will make you pay in those scenarios. So you're not just going to be able to line up and hit them in the mouth, I don't think.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to add as well, a Wink Martindale offense. If anyone knows his history as a defensive coordinator, he loves to blitz. He brings 5 or 6 guys a lot of times. I bet if they're looking at that blitz percentage chart, Michigan State is, in their pregame prep, it's probably at like a 45 to 50% mark, which is good if you have some good players on defense. But like you mentioned, Dante, it can leave some holes defensively if guys aren't communicating well enough or misaligned, and you have a blitz from the wrong side, or if you have, blitzing in general, it leaves gaps open in the defense. So if we're able to protect a little bit or get a guy moving in the wrong direction in the run game, even running power into a blitz is a great play, because guys are coming upfield so hard, it creates gaps. So that could be kind of an area where we could expose them if they continue to rely on that blitz a lot.
I got one. I would not be stunned, and early on, fans do not boo if you have a third and medium to long distance where Michigan's showing a lot of blitz because they show a lot of that double mug, a lot of pressure in your face. I would not be stunned if you see a designed run, draw, inside zone, something, because that's where you can get explosive runs, and that's where defense is weak. I don't think Michigan's as undisciplined to do that, but I would not be stunned if early in the game this offense tries to test that out.
Yeah, because when they line up on those they have their 3rd and 8 blitz packages, they're not expecting a run. They have all their pass rushers in, and they have a nickel personnel probably, so they're a little lighter in the box, and you can kind of catch them off guard. If you see it sometimes in college or NFL, you can catch them off guard with a run play on 3rd and medium. So
one thing I'd like to see this Michigan State offense build on is I feel like they've actually started fast a lot of the games this year. Majority of the time they've
have to.
Whether they've gotten the ball first or not, they've usually gone down and gotten points. But after that first drive, after those initial 15 plays where you script out, you walk through those 10, 15 plays 2 days before the game, day before the game, day of the game, build off that. Like this offense doesn't need to start stalling out, going 3 and out, or getting stuffed on 4th down, putting the defense in a bind with a short field. Build off that first drive and just continue to do what works. If something's working, yes, obviously Michigan's going to make some adjustments, but go back to it. Go back to the well, and then build off that.
My last biggest point that I'll make in this game is this offense needs to score touchdowns in the red zone. Michigan's put up some high point totals, and obviously with our defense, that's very possible, but you need to capitalize when you get down there and put more game pressure on Michigan to play the way that they probably don't want to play in terms of playing from behind, throwing the ball, trying to play off schedule. And Tyler, just to your point, if you start fast, you need to capitalize on that momentum. If you get a score early on and then get a stop, you have to capitalize on your opportunities, and they're going to be there. I don't think the opportunities are going to be few and far between, but you have to do that. You have to capitalize. And if you start fast, I think that's a successful game plan and making this game competitive down the stretch. One last thing I will be interested to see, we've talked about the Bryce Underwood. I'm trying to think of the games. Nebraska ended up being a close game, 3-point game, but Michigan was in control pretty late of that game, and Nebraska went down and scored. I'd be interested to see late in the 4th quarter, if Michigan State's got some type of lead in a hostile environment, how Bryce Underwood reacts. We've talked about the talent of him. It's a big spot for him, if he gets in that scenario, and we haven't seen him do that yet. So it'd be really interesting to me late in that game, when the game pressure's turned on, how does he play down the stretch? And if you put that game pressure on, I'm not saying that's a foolproof system of he's going to not execute, but that at least gives you a lot better chance than you trying to come back and make that play down the stretch. So,
yeah.
Special teams. Anyone want to give a shout out to special teams here? Special teams typically plays a big role. 10 years to the date. Well, I don't know about to the exact date, but 10 years ago, special teams played the ultimate role. I do feel like I will say, even in that UCLA game, as bad as everything was, we saw an uncharacteristic game out of Ryan Eckley as well. It did not feel like that was one of his best games, and obviously did not punt really against Indiana.
No, special teams got to be special, but like I said a few weeks ago, hopefully we don't notice them too much. When you notice special teams, it's either really great or it's really, really not great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't really want to notice special teams unless it's like one big play. But if I don't notice anything, it means probably something good is happening.
Agreed. All right. Anything else Michigan week related? Again, giveaway, reminder to send an email with the Bowling Green score, Bowling Green Michigan State exhibition basketball score, 4 closest scores. We'll get a t-shirt, whether that is hand delivered at the Michigan game or we will mail it to you if you are a winner. Please email us. We would love to. Trust me. If nobody wants these shirts, we'll gladly scoop them up for ourselves. Quality stuff out of Nudge. All right, shall we get into our locks?
Oof.
Shall.
Should be.
So on the year, Brian, do you want to run through the
Do we need
standings
to do
again?
the records, or should we just get right into it?
Yeah. No. We have to do the records.
Okay, we'll do the records. I'm 5-1-2. Higby is 2-6. Not looking great. Only can go up from here. Dante is 5-3, and I think you said you won 5 straight.
It can always get worse, brother.
Yep.
I can assure you that.
It can always get worse. I'll give my lock first. I'm just going analytics here again of a team traveling from Eastern time zone to Western time zone. And I'm going to go Washington -3.5 at home versus Illinois. I think Illinois, the nation was kind of high on them after last year, and they've kind of been middle of the ground to slash upper part of the Big Ten. But I think Washington is still a sneaky good team. I don't know what it is about teams that play at Michigan Stadium. I swear there's like some voodoo magic that they forget how to play offense. And my guy Demon Williams last week threw like 3 interceptions straight to Michigan players. But I think he rebounds, and I think Washington wins by at least 4 against Illinois.
Wow, good one. Good pick. I'm ice cold, as was stated before by Brian. So my pick's going to be U of H traveling to Arizona State. I'm going to take the over. The number seems pretty low to me. Arizona State, if Sim Levitt's healthy, which I'm assuming he is, a lot can change between now and Saturday. Who knows? No, I think 46.5 feels like a low number. And U of H actually has. I'm actually kind of shocked at how they haven't really played. They lost. Their one loss has been to Texas Tech. So that's the one good team they've played, and they lost that game. But they're 5-1. They're much improved. And I think if they give me 20 points, that over hits.
You refuse to stay away from Texas schools. Refuse.
I've never once picked U of H in my life for anything.
I know, but you always are like,
it's always
Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor at the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, I never win when I bet on Baylor, but Baylor minus
the first 2 weeks. Texas Tech last week.
Anyways, I am going to Louisiana. Team up against the wall, backs against the wall in a quarter. Brian Kelly's getting calls for his job. Nobody likes him down there. At home, at night, in Death Valley, +2.5 against Texas A&M. We've talked about A&M before. There's something about them. Like, I think they're a very good team, but I just don't think they're 12-0 undefeated good. This is a complete spot play for LSU. They have to win this game. I think they do. +2.5 LSU at night. Love it.
Are you buying the point there to make it 3?
No. I almost went money line.
All right.
What do you guys think about Ole Miss +5.5 at Oklahoma?
They're underdogs? I mean, I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
Oklahoma's defense is really good, and that scares me against Lane Kiffin that doesn't really know how to win games a bunch of different ways.
I also do like Arkansas money line at home versus Auburn, even though they're 2-5 and just fired their head coach. But
they almost beat A&M last week.
Yeah, they did. Their offense is. I was looking at like a chart, and Arkansas's offense, like EPA wise, is like in the upper right tier, and their defense is like the lower left tier. So their offense is really good, but they can't do anything with defense.
We like up and to the right, regardless of what it is. Up and to the right is good.
Correct.
But that A&M Arkansas game is always close.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, traditionally they've had some wacky games, but all right. This is the week, and I said it at the open. I think you have to get the kitchen sink from not only these players being through the rivalry one time with those that weren't familiar of it, and this coaching staff. Jonathan Smith sounded a little different this week in his press conference. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If he's trying to adapt to the intensity that that the fans at least want to see for this Michigan game. But he was a little different. I think this coaching staff feels it clearly at this point. I think that they know that this is a game they can win. and they probably know this is their last shot to win back. In reality, their last shot to win back this fan base at least a little bit or work towards it. So I expect a good effort, and if we don't see a good effort, then you're going to hear more of the same from the last couple weeks from us. But night game, Spartan Stadium, 7:30 should be a phenomenal day. Please, please, please stop by. We will send out more information so you guys can stop by, say hello. We'll be there all day up until game time. We will record and we will talk after this weekend. Go Green.